The Japanese have a word only heard in Japan, a monstrous phrase that exists nowhere else in the world. That word is Karoshi, which literally translates to overworked death. As stated by Business Insider, this has been used since the 1970s to describe the dramatic rise in deaths by exhaustion in Japan. The Japanese are literally working themselves to death. Something in their culture or heritage means they willingly work hundreds of hours of overtime, foregoing family time and leisure pursuits. It is theorised that much of the practice was sparked by the Second World War. After the nation was crippled by defeat in World War II, the country had to rebuild or live in the shadows of former glory, a broken country. Prime Minister Yoshida prioritised the rebuilding of Japan in the early 1950s, and corporations demanded loyalty from employees in return for high salaries and job security. However, as the financial and technological success of the country expanded, the quality of life of the populace imploded. It became one of the richest nations in the world, while simultaneously having some of the highest suicide rates in the world year after year after year. Much like the kamikaze pilots of the war, people were sacrificing their lives for the nation. The incredibly callous phrase occupational sudden death began to emerge as workers literally exhausted themselves to death. Sleep deprived and overworked bodies started to drop as the Japanese endured mammoth work patterns to prove their loyalty. Japan has a rich heritage and honour enshrined since the days of the samurai and the Bushido Code. This code of honour fools them into believing it is honourable to slave away to benefit others whilst ruining their own lives. Employees have been brainwashed into thinking the company they work for is a priority above all else, that their company and not their own flesh and blood is their family. This is reminiscent of the Nazi phrase, "Work sets you free," which was written on the front gates of Auschwitz. Such an attitude has led to countless early deaths, including a 31-year-old journalist called Miwa Seido. According to The Guardian, she had worked 159 hours overtime the preceding month of her death from heart failure in 2013. A government survey in 2016 found that 1 in 5 Japanese people were at risk of karoshi because of the amount of overtime they work. A 2019 article by the New York Times also stated that the Japanese sleep less than any other country on average in the world. The same article lists the sickening demands of employers during the biggest typhoon to hit the area in decades. Floods, landslides and heavy winds wreaked havoc on the country, and all public transport was cancelled. However, a social media storm brewed at the same time. Employees began to leak the outrageous demands placed on them at this time of emergency. Employees were told to brave the weather and bring sleeping bags and food to work in case they were stranded at the premises. This way they could work through it. There is a bullying attitude of employers. They expect their workers to put in extra effort, and there is a culture of asking them to do it off the clock, unpaid. However, it is a national problem of their own making. Many look in admiration at those destroying their bodies for the good of others. Being a hard worker is an extremely attractive trait in Japan, the same way being polite, kind or confident is in other countries. Indeed, the Japanese often feel shame when they are not working hard. This is a structural and cultural issue, not dissimilar to how religion has taught people to be ashamed of things that are normal. And so, exhausted from the practice, people can often be seen passed out or sleeping on the street or on public transport. Karoshi can come about from stress-induced strokes, heart attacks and suicides. And in the current economic climate of the world, there is more competition for jobs than ever. Less jobs means less job security, and those that work longer hours are looked at more favourably. Unsurprisingly, this has exacerbated the problem. Recently, the Japanese government has tried to fight the problem. They have capped overtime to 100 hours. This is still an excessive number. It seems that Japan's own culture is its demise. The history of the Japanese can be very much defined by their surrender to the nation. In World War II, they were totally and completely loyal to the empire, and now their empire is the workplace. Unless attitudes change to value the individual and quality of life, it seems destined to continue.